Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on our call regarding um, our athletes and nutrition. So, my name is Kim Campbell and I am from Ohio. I have three children. I have one 13 and a half, almost 14-year-old boy. He is a golf lover. He's a soccer player, very active. And Sophie and Harper are my daughters. Sophie is 9, almost 10, and Harper is she's 8, and they are both very involved in dance. And they also love the arts, so they are on stage dancing, very active as well. So nutrition is very important for our family because um, at birth, my children, they were diagnosed with cystic fibrosis, just a mild form, but they have a really hard time just digesting their food and their food helping them, grow. That is something that, affects cystic fibrosis patients, I guess you want to call. And so, what we have found is we have found this amazing nutrition that has helped their bodies, and especially Preston, because him being the more of the athlete of the family, he was on the second percentile in the growth chart just about a few years ago. I would say probably about 3 years ago, which is crazy to say. That he was on the second percentile on the growth chart, almost needing, I get emotional every time I say it. He was almost needing a feeding tube and needing enzymes in his food. And so that was just not an option for us. And so we were looking for something, an alternative for him, because they were giving him all of these just protein drinks and things that were just gross tasting and just affected him just in a bad way. So we are super thankful we were able to find this amazing plant powder nutrition, and it has helped us. And he is now this strapping young, he wears a size small adult men, which is just absolutely crazy. He does not need to, be on any medication because of his, the enzymes and the growth or anything like that. We rarely have to go see the doctor. He's just very, very healthy. So we're very blessed. So that's why we share this with all of you. And we have these amazing events and these amazing speakers like I'm going to introduce. So that's just a little bit about my story. Our speaker for tonight is Kim Wells. She is a mom of 2 previous athletes, which I'm sure they're still athletes now. And she is a certified athletic trainer. She's also a physical therapist. And she is here to tell us some amazing tips and tricks for your athlete. And so thank you, Kim, for talking with us tonight and sharing.
You are welcome, Kim. So we're just going to tag team the Kims tonight. And I'm so excited to get to share, and grateful that you all took some time out to listen to this. And you might be listening to the recording because you were maybe at a soccer game or practice or something tonight. And that is great. And, just like Kim, just like you all, I'm a busy mom. And I've been, my kids are now 20 and 22. So I've been through this stage for years, and I was a busy mom trying to get healthy foods and meals into my very active family's bodies, all while driving all over the city. I'm in Kansas City, so nothing is necessarily 2 minutes away. So driving all over the city for practices and games, weekends, weekdays, it didn't matter. I used to tell my husband that my van was my second home. And, I might spend 4 or 5 hours in my van in those after school times. And so we'll cover some things and lots of tips and tricks for you all tonight. And what I love too is that I found a way by focusing on nutrition when Kristen was just 1, that we were able to change the trajectory of Kristen's health and life experiences that she could have. And this is why, because at 1, she was diagnosed with allergy-induced asthma. And shortly after that, a friend shared with me some simple solutions that became the catalyst for all of us being healthier now over 21 years later. Yes, Kristen is 22. She was able to graduate high school running cross country and playing soccer, all without having to go back on the inhaler or or having those symptoms again of the asthma. And she was able to experience going to state both in cross country and then also 3 times in soccer. And they won the state soccer championship her senior year, going undefeated. And so I love that when we look at changing nutrition, it can change our life experiences as well. Whoops, sorry, I just hit the wrong button. And so my passion is to help other moms be able to have the same gift and this peace of mind that they're giving their kids the best foundation for success, for health, for performance, and experiences that, that we've been able to have as a family. And I said, Kim, I believe that everyone deserves to have the healthiest bodies possible. And that's why I love to share this message with other moms. So tonight I'm going to cover 3 areas in about the next 15 minutes. We'll go fast because I know your time is very valuable. So 1, we'll talk a little bit about the causes behind why our bodies don't function well if we don't take care of them, and some of the common things that we put in that affect that. 2, the importance of fruits and vegetables for performance, for recovery, and injury prevention. And 3, some simple solutions and ways that you can easily feed your family well and flood their bodies with great plant fuel. And I'll share some free resources with you as well. So give me just a minute as I pull up my PowerPoint. And there we go. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, thank you. All right, and if the people on the screen are in the way, just slide them over to the side so you can see the PowerPoint. But I want to talk tonight about this relationship between nutrition, disease, and performance. And we're not going to talk that much about the disease process tonight because this is geared about how do busy moms, how do we keep our families healthy? And of course, our kids want to perform well, right? And we want to help them be that way. So these are just some great books, though. I know some people like to delve in and read. So these are just some great books that I've been able to, learn from over the years. But we're going to talk first about oxidative stress, because this is one of the key issues for our bodies not performing well. And I feel like if you're spending that time to go out there and work out and work hard during practice, your performance deserves protection, right? And so we know that normal metabolism and exercise, they both create free radicals. Now, I know I've got a biologist on this line tonight. I took a lot of chemistry and biology, but I don't love to delve into chemistry anymore, right? I've been out of it a long time. So I'm going to keep it really simple. Chemistry 101. Those create free radicals. So just like the exhaust in your car, when you burn the fuel in your car, it creates exhaust. Same thing when we metabolize our food or we exercise our bodies, we create free radicals. That's like the exhaust, and it's not good. And they run around our bodies creating havoc unless we flood our bodies with antioxidants. And if we don't flood our bodies with those antioxidants, we get aging, we get disease, and we get poor athletic performance. Well, none of us want that, right? And so we have got to flood our bodies with a lot of antioxidants because we know exercise is important and we need to do it. Those sources of antioxidants come from fruits and vegetables. Okay, so we're going to talk more about that, but I want you to understand this oxidative stress issue because it is linked to poor health. And so each human cell in our body, that DNA is hit about 10,000 times a day by mutagenic oxidants. And for some of us, as we get older, I just turned 50 a couple months ago, like we might just start to see it as wrinkles or gray hair, but our athletes see it as poor performance. And so I just want you to be able to equate those two things together. Another issue that I see for athletes that is really harmful for their bodies is the effect of sugar. And so I put this chart in here because sugar decreases our immunity. And if our immunity is down, right, we're more susceptible to not only sickness, which none of us want the flu or the colds or anything else or the viruses going on right now, but we're also more susceptible to injury. And so just look at if you had 6 teaspoons of sugar, that's just an 8-ounce soft drink. A normal can is 12 ounces. So we're talking about a tiny little can. The number of bacteria that a white blood cell, WBC is white blood cell, can destroy in a half an hour is 10. that has decreased our immunity by 25%, just that one little 8-ounce soft drink. But maybe somebody goes, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know what, I worked out, I had a great practice, and I'm gonna have that frosted brownie. That's 12 teaspoons of sugar. We just decreased our immunity by 60%. And this lasts for a few hours. So now we brought our immune system down. We're more susceptible to catching those germs, but also for our body not to repair and recover like it's supposed to. And so let's look at what athletes are drinking. This is another area that I see where we really need a lot of help and reform in this. There's a lot of tons of sports drinks out there. You know, they usually contain water, electrolytes, and sugar. Now, carbohydrates, and I won't have time to go into all of that on this call tonight, but you know, there's good and bad carbohydrates. That refined sugar is a bad carbohydrate. Think processed foods, bad carbohydrates. Fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, good carbohydrates, okay? And also, you know, we tend to go and they go for practice. They don't need all that Gatorade after that. Really, water's best for moderate exercise. Now, if you're a marathoner or you're doing some longer distance things, sports drinks can be useful for extreme workouts, especially when there's excessive sweating. But the average person does not need the sports drinks after practice, even after competitions. And also they soften the enamel of our teeth and they have a lot of additives in them. So I want you to be careful for that too. Now, not to be confused with energy drinks, because energy drinks are awful for your body. I don't usually use that word, but I am tonight. They inhibit the absorption of minerals. They're a diuretic. They're highly acidic. And cancer disease thrives in an acidic environment. So we want to cut that back. It also causes, and this is where athletes really see those issues, adrenal fatigue, jittery, anxious, speeds up the heart, and can cause problems sleeping. Well, if we're not getting sleep, we're not going to be able to compete very well, right? So those, especially those last 4 or 5, really, really important for athletes to not put this in their bodies, right? If you're going and you're playing football or soccer, and you're already revving up that heart, you don't want to be jittery and anxious. You don't want to speed up the heart more, right? If you're out there running cross country, you want your heart doing what it's supposed to and not being on these synthetic additives. So this to me is one that always has to stay out, and it's really hard for me to watch people drink these. The Gatorades, you know, those are okay occasionally when you need them, but not the energy drinks. So hopefully I made that point clear. Now, let's talk about the fun part, how your body works, and what are we going to do to help our kids be healthier and perform better. So I'll just tell you right up front, I am not a car expert, but this part makes sense to me. I know that I have gas and I have oil. They do 2 different things in the body, right? They do 2 different things in the car. Gas is your macronutrition. That's your carbohydrates, your proteins, your fats. We need those to help our bodies run, and our athletes need really good, clean carbohydrates to have that peak performance. And if they don't, they're going to run out of energy, right? Just like if you ran out of gas, your car isn't broken, it just doesn't get down the road, right? You have to walk down the road, get some gas, put it in, and your car will be fine. Now, micronutrition is like the oil change in your car. And I don't understand everything that goes on under the hood, but I know that every few thousand miles, I need to go change the oil in my car, and that I need to make sure that there's always oil. Otherwise, I know, because my brother checked the wrong dipstick in high school, and we ran out of oil in our car, and it broke our, it ruined our engine. It stopped, it locked up, and it was dead. So I learned early on that oil is very important in the car. And that's the micronutrition of all of these fruits and vegetables, all the little trace vitamins, minerals, enzymes, antioxidants that are in our fresh fruits and vegetables. That's the oil change in our car, okay? And the oil change in our body that's keeping all these organs and things inside that we don't even see running healthy. So let's look at a label. So you'll see a nutrition fact label and a supplement fact label. Okay, now which one, I know you're all muted, so I'll answer rhetorically, but think about which one would you go is healthier for you, right? I've got a nutrition fact label or supplement. We're gonna pick that nutrition fact label, right? An apple, an orange. We want the real food. We don't want isolated vitamins and supplements over here. All right. And so we look at fruits and vegetables, and there's thousands and thousands of phytonutrients. Phyto means plant. So plant nutrients that are in those apples, those strawberries, those kiwi, those oranges, those working in synergy together are what are so effective in our body. And the average orange, for example, only has 5 milligrams of vitamin C in it. Well, most of us would look at that and go, well, that's not any good, right? If you just saw the label isolated out, you'd go, well, I thought an orange was supposed to be good. It's 5 milligrams of vitamin C, but it's all those other phytonutrients in that orange working together that make it so effective in our body. Okay, and that's the power of phytonutrients, and that's what I realized years ago when I started looking at labels and learning about nutrition. Was I wanted lots more fruits and vegetables in our bodies. And this is, I love this because this is a Harvard doc who's also who's giving her expertise in the Harvard, on a Harvard website, but she's also a cancer patient herself. So she's had the expertise in her education, but she's also experienced disease as a patient. And she talks about in this article, fruits and vegetables heal wounds, they strengthen blood vessels, they ward off infection, and they boost or improve our immune system. Well, think about the things that our athletes need. If they ever get an injury, we want them to heal well, right? Do you think strengthened blood vessels are going to benefit them in competition? Absolutely. What about keeping them healthy, all through the season? What we tend to see is that athletes will tend to get run down towards the end of the season. And oftentimes just when they need to be at their peak, their body doesn't have enough of the nutrition to sustain it. So they start to get injuries and disease towards the end of the season instead of being at the height of their performance. That's when they want to peak. And oftentimes that's when we find the health issues are showing up. And so we know fruits and vegetables, and I could share a lot more studies, but I wanted to make this pretty short tonight. So I took a bunch out, but trust me, there's thousands and thousands of studies on the importance of fruits and vegetables. The other thing I wanted to briefly talk about, that's something that you can add in, make sure that's getting in your athlete's diet, is omega-3s. Actually the full spectrum of omegas, because they improve our body and brain functions. And they really are such a catalyst for so many of our systems running well. And so my quick little things that you can remember this is remember to give your family an oil change. Flax seeds, there's lots of plant-based sources. That's where omegas come from. You can find them in fish, but they're nuts, they're in soy, they're in olives, they're in avocados, grass-fed beef. Those are all great sources to be able to get those healthy omegas into your body. All right, now, you heard Kim say, not only am I a physical therapist, but I'm also a certified athletic trainer. So I love to talk about injury prevention and recovery. And so if you get an injury, if you have an injury, this is what you need to do to protect your tissues. Okay, we call it RICE in the training room: rest, ice, compression, elevation. You probably heard that, right? And those are all super important. Now, we want to try and keep you from having any injuries, but if you have injuries, those are the things you need to do. But I love to talk about anti-injury eating. Okay, so let's talk about foods that help you if you have tendonitis, bursitis, or shin splints, because we know if you're an athlete, at some point you might have some issues over time. So in pineapple, there's an enzyme called bromelain. It is great for reducing inflammation. And if you ask any of my kids' friends from high school if they had injuries, because sometimes I got asked a lot of questions in the stands or on the sideline from parents or friends, and I guarantee you, they will say, oh yeah, Mrs. Wells said, go home, get some pineapple, start eating that pineapple, right? If they got injured during a game, I'm like, get that pineapple in you, get some walnuts, some berries. Those are all great things for helping your body be able to reduce that inflammation. Okay. Another thing is a lot of times you'll see muscle cramps. And usually I know people go two things. They'll go, okay, water and bananas, right? And those are good. Those are important, but there are also other things. So I want you to think about things that you can keep in your diet consistently. This is preventive. I want you all to be preventive. So water, but also calcium, kale, collard greens, yogurt. Magnesium is an important mineral in there. So spinach, green teas, and potassium sources are bananas, white potatoes. Okay, so these are foods that, if you're consistently getting in your diet, not just after you have the muscle cramps, then hopefully you can prevent those as well, right? And so this is where my family came into making some changes. I said 21 years ago, I had a friend that told me about some ways that we could make simple solutions, and this is what we got introduced to. And I love Juice Plus. It is 30 fruits and vegetables in a capsule or a chewable form. And you remember when I talked about the labels, this is a nutrition label. If you could flip those bottles over, you'd see it's a nutrition label, not a supplement label. And that was my aha when I got introduced to it, because I knew that although we all had been, my husband and I were both athletes, we didn't get enough fruits and vegetables. And if I could get beets and broccoli and kale and cabbage in my 1-year-old at that point, it was like, sign me up, right? Now, I just want to share this because we're on the sports topic. These are 2 people who took my advice, actually 4 people, because there's 4 in the picture. But on the left is a 50-year-old. Kelly won the triathlete world championship just a few years ago. And these are 2 people who took my advice on nutrition. They added Juice Plus in. We've talked about, anti-injury foods and recovery foods. And the picture on the right is actually my husband, who is a multiple-time national masters champion in swimming. And those are my 2 kids. That was taken a few years ago when the Masters National Championship was actually in Omaha after the Olympic trials pool. And if I have time at the end, I'll share his story, because my husband did get to go to trials twice as a senior in high school and a senior in college, but he's actually stronger and healthier now and with his nutrition, and has been able to swim. He just turned 59 last week, and he's still able to swim and compete at a high level because he's made all of these changes in his nutrition. So I know we're talking about our kid athletes tonight, but it is important. I know there's some of us on here who are older that we keep working on our nutrition so we can perform and do the things we want to do as well. And don't just take my word for it and some others' experiences, but Dr. David Phillips is also a Harvard grad. He's been on our United States triathlon team, and he says Juice Plus is the most researched nutritional product in the world and optimizes human health and performance at any level. There is just no comparison. And I love, because we have over 40 published research studies, there are so many healthcare professionals like Dr. Phillips and I that love getting to share this as a simple tool. And so, we really have 3 ways to get healthier with the tools that we have. And we talked about the macronutrients and the micronutrients. And so we have the capsules and those omegas as the micronutrients. And we have healthy whole food shakes and bars. And I love this. And I didn't put a full slide in on the complete tonight, but this complete shakes and bars, that's our macronutrients. It keeps us from going through the drive-through, and we get healthy food on the go. And I know during an all-day competition, my husband will do this. I've had a lot of my athletes do this. They'll just shake up the complete shakes because it gets them great, like a full meal with great protein and fiber, but it's not sitting in their gut, and they can still compete. Because if you're going to put a lot of food in your gut right before you compete, then your body is spending all its energy processing that food instead of using it out there in the muscles, your arms and legs that need to be doing that competition. So that's super important. And we can talk more specific if you have questions at the end on, timing of eating and things like that. And then we also have a product called a Tower Garden, where you get to grow your own produce. And I love that. I go cut off greens every day. I have one inside and one outside, and can throw those in the shakes or have a salad. And it's just a really great way to get more protein or more fruits and vegetables in your diet. And I'll tell you what, those of you with kids at home, it's such a fun way, because when your kids are growing it, they're more apt to eat it. And I'll tell you what, my kids love salads. They both have great taste buds because we've shaped it from Kristen from age 1, Josh all through pregnancy. And so we really were able to shape their taste buds and give them that good start for a healthy life and being able to perform like they wanted to. So I'm going to wrap up with a couple of things on the research here. But like I said, as a healthcare professional, I love that this is the most thoroughly researched brand name nutritional product on the market. And this just shows you what the research has found. And think about this. What else do you know out there that could even give you 2 or 3 of these things? It's bioavailable. And by the way, these are 40 published research studies, gold standard. Majority of these are gold standard research, which if you're in healthcare, you know that's the top of the line. Contributes to cardiovascular wellness, right? We want our cardiovascular system to work well if we're going to push it every day in practice and competition. Supports a healthy immune system, protects our DNA, reduces oxidative stress. Remember back on the very beginning when I talked about what's the biggest culprit for injury and not performing well, is that oxidative stress. And we have got to flood our bodies with lots of fruits and vegetables. And so Juice Plus reduces oxidative stress. To me, right there is the biggest thing for athletes, is that key piece. We also support healthy skin and gums, a healthy inflammatory response, which is also important for athletes because every time we work out, we lift weights, we're actually creating little micro tears in our muscles to break it down and build it back up. So we're creating inflammation all the time, and we want to decrease that inflammatory response in our body. Other things are we support quality of life in cancer survivors, improves metabolism in overweight boys, and supports lung health and smokers. Pretty darn impressive list of research. I'm going to pass on this study, but if you are really interested in learning more about the specific study on what happens over the course of, when I talked about the season, that, when people tend to get sick or their bodies start to break down towards the end of the season, this is a graph that shows what happens with your protein carbonyls in that process, and then how protective Juice Plus is that doesn't happen. And so if you're a competitive athlete, this is probably the most important study that we have out there for you to see, because you want to decrease the damage for those protein carbonyls, and Juice Plus has been proven to do that in significant ways. So I know that busy moms need some great, easy ideas for food on the table. And so this is a list, and you can even snapshot it if you want, that gives you a lot of breakfast ideas. And I don't know if you're like me, but breakfast had to be pretty quick. We choose to do the Juice Plus Complete and smoothies every morning for breakfast, and I might add in some of these others on occasion. But then dinners. Like I said, especially when my kids are in middle school, you pick them up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. Somebody had a practice at 4:30 or 5. Somebody else had one at 6 or 7. And so, dinner was always a little bit of a crazy time. We might eat some at 4. We might eat some at 9. And so crock pots were my go-to. Because I could put something in the morning, it was ready, no matter if I needed it ready at 4 o'clock, if I needed it ready at 9, or somewhere in between, or some of us at one point and some at the other. And so we have a Crocktoberfest event going on right now, where we just started yesterday. We've got 10 plus days of healthy crockpot recipes. So if you're interested in that, ask the person that invited you, and they can get you the information and get you into that group. Another easy food or thing to do is a salad in a jar. And well, when we could all get together, we would get together, everybody brings a couple toppings, we'd put our salads together, put those jars in the fridge, and then it's really quick and easy to grab. So those could go in a kid's lunchbox for lunch. I have also eaten plenty of salad in jars in the car, because it's easy, because you just take the jar, the dressing's already in there. I take a plate or a bowl, you can dump it out, and you or your kids can have a salad in the car. Maybe you're in between a practice, or they're hungry on the way home. That is the other thing I found, is that when you're coming home after school or right after that practice, have something healthy, because they are going to be hungry. And if you don't have healthy food available, they're going to eat something, right? Or you're going to have to go through a drive-through. And I always had a cooler in my car. We always had water. I made sure that we didn't have to go through a drive-through. And so those are some of those things that I did. And sometimes we ate part of dinner at 4 o'clock and part of dinner at 8:30 or 9. And we just kind of split it up that way. So every fruit and vegetable is a complex disease fighting machine, our own personal defense force. So hopefully this has come through tonight, because fruits and vegetables are analgesic, antibacterial, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, super important for those athletes, antioxidant, antiseptic, anti-sunburn, and anti-injury. And no athlete wants to have an injury, right? And so healthy habits are easier when you tackle them together. And so I want to close and throw this out to you all. If you're not familiar with our Healthy Starts for Families program and Add More Good, our company, I'm thrilled to say that they knew that, you know what, we needed to add more good in the world. So they came out this summer with a way, not only as a parent, if your child is between the ages of 4 and 18 or an undergraduate college student, you can sponsor them and they can get some Juice Plus for free. You also, right now, for a limited time, can get 15 servings of our shakes for free as well as part of our Add More Good. You just pay the $5 shipping. And I love that. I love that not only do we have these simple, easy ways to get fruits and vegetables into our families to improve our health, our performance, but now we've got ways to be able to make it even more affordable, which I already thought it was, and create a way for us to be role models as parents and create those healthy habits together. So let me stop sharing the screen, and I want to just wrap up with a couple things, and then I'll turn it back over to Kim. But I tell myself that I'm so grateful to my friend Jody who, when she heard about Juice Plus, not only did she decide to add it to her own family's diet, but she also felt inclined to share it with others. And you know what? We've benefited. It's definitely enhanced my whole family's life. And I can't believe that it's been over 2 decades that I've been able to make health an easier priority. All 4 of us, just incidentally, are state champions or medaled at state. And yet, with the exception of concussions, my kids have competed injury-free their whole career. We've been healthy, so sickness didn't steal the opportunities to play those sports. And I have a peace of mind that I gave our kids a great foundation of health and opportunities, all while not spending entire days in the kitchen, which if you know me, you know I don't love to do, or going through fast food drive-thrus. And I was able to be present at their activities instead of spending that time in the kitchen. So I've loved the season of parenting. Well, maybe not all the aspects of parenting teenagers, but it has brought us such great joy to be able to watch our kids excel in the activities and sports that they pursued. And I hope that you choose to be able to reap these same benefits too, and take a look at adding Juice Plus into your diet. So thanks for your time. And Kim, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. That was oh man, that was really informative. And there was a lot of things in there that being a newer sports mom, just within the last several years here, that's very, very helpful. So I'm glad this is recorded and I can rewatch this and watch it with my kids. So thank you for your time and all of your tips and tricks and just helpful information. It was just wonderful. So we're actually going to open it up. And if there's anyone that has any questions for Kim especially, or I will be very happy to answer any questions you may have. So we can go ahead, and if you have a question, unmute yourself and let us know. I also forgot to add that my son deals with allergies and asthma as well. And that has been something that we have been extremely blessed with, not having those issues. So I forgot to add that in. So that was wonderful.
It is great to get those out. We've seen a lot of improvements in that. Yes, Patricia.
Yeah, just one quick question. Can you talk about if it was important for your children to have the Juice Plus that has a special branding that's kind of for elite athletes? Did you have that, or and how important is that if you talk to a coach or something?
You know what?
When does that kick in? Does that kick in for little kids in middle school, or is that only for elite athletes?
Really, it's for elite athletes. So that's a great question, Patricia, and I didn't cover that. So we do have NSF for Sport certification on our Juice Plus products as well. And it's the same Juice Plus that you and I take. It just means it's gone through a lot of additional testing to make sure that those athletes who do drug testing you know, that what they're putting in their body with Juice Plus is clean. And so really that would start college and professional athletes, absolutely. That's important because the college athletes are drug tested as well, and professional athletes. Most high school athletes and younger don't need that. There might be some exceptions depending on that high school athlete or that high school age athlete. If they're competing on some, you know, club level, like swimming might be competing at a much higher level. Like Brad went to trials when he was a senior in high school. So he's probably, you know, at this point would be drug tested now at that age. But for the average high school and under athlete, no. My kids didn't do the NSF for sports certification. Now, if they gone on and decided to play in college, then we would have switched them over to that. Yeah, great question. But I love that we have that because so many professional elite athletes around the world take Juice Plus because they know it's safe.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Great, yes, you're welcome. Any other questions? Oh, I see the chat, hold on. Oh, okay. Forgot to check the chat. Well, all right, well, I'm gonna stop the recording